Yo, Benny! I don't think he's home, man. Benny, man, yo. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm MC Savah from the Kankasaurs. You can catch me on funnyordie.com/Kankasaurs, K-A-N-K-S-O-R-Z, you know what I'm saying? But right now, it's all about Benny TV. Yo, because my boy Benny the Gagoots got his own show. And I just want to give a big shout out to Benny. And in honor of that, I'm going to do dope-ass freestyle, man. So he's got to figure out what rhymes with Benny. 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 What rhymes with Benny? Benny. What rhymes with Benny? Benny. He's in the Serengeti. He's hunting for a Yeti and he's always on the ready. And Benny's always merry when he's eating his spaghetti. But right now he's in the desert, so his palms are kind of sweaty. His good friend Freddie, he brought him that Ben and Jerry. And Yetis, they love the Ben and Jerry. So Benny caught that Yeti and we all threw confetti. Yeah, Benny. Benny TV, baby.
Yeah, Benny TV, baby. Here I am with my two guest hosts tonight, Bonnie Scalise, who I'm very happy to finally have met her. We've been friends on Facebook for about a year. And you all know John Santo, the man of 1,000 voices, has been doing shows with me since my first web TV show. How about that?
That was
the Gagoot Show.
It came up in my memories recently, so
Yeah?
it was around this. When was it?
It was October.
October.
It was October.
Came up in memories.
But then, yeah, you did other shows with me.
I think it was the one after I did. That was a December show.
Okay,
that was
yeah.
the one where you played the Mexican president and I played Trump.
And you played Trump, yeah.
And we did it with the Globe. Yes, that's the one that came up.
That was before Trump was president.
Before Trump,
Before
right?
everybody
before.
hated him.
And my son Ryan Rizzuti, who is also my co-host,
Where's Ryan?
he's not here because he happens to be in Peru.
Peru.
And he's in Peru, and he's heading an expedition in Peru, looking for the Incas, and because there's a lost city over there that Ryan believes the first ever comic book shop was in this lost city
Really?
in Peru. So he's over there.
He's Raiders of the Lost comic book.
Raiders of the Lost comic book shop. And you know how they have graphic novels? Back then it was graphic hieroglyphics.
Right.
Yeah, it was stones that were like comics. So that's where Ryan is.
Is that your sticker?
And,
or are you happy to see me?
So that's where Ryan is right now.
Shouldn't he be reporting from Peru? This is unprecedented. We have a correspondent in Peru.
There's no cell phone, no cell phone towers over there.
Nothing.
No.
Yeah. He's like literally with
the monkeys. With the
jacket
safari
and
hat
and
the jacket and the
Wow.
the net, the mosquito net over his face, and he's out there doing that. Yeah.
Tell him. Can you get? There's no way to get word to him.
No,
is
we
there?
can't get word to him.
Tell him don't. If something looks like it says, don't touch it. Because all of a sudden spears and shit come out of it. I don't need that. You know.
So anyway, Bonnie, this is the show about everything.
Cool.
This is a show where we have a conversation. We talk about books a lot because I like to keep print alive. I feel that people have forgotten about reading. Like, okay, they read. Some people read on their cell phone, and I get it, and they read on tablets. And reading, though, I feel that any form of reading is just great to expand your mind. Because even though a movie is cool and you sit there and you get absorbed in a movie, in the book you actually become those people. You actually feel for the characters.
Yes.
But tonight we're going to be talking about movies.
Because I'm not that much of a reader, so
yeah, but
he's compensating from me.
But in the second half of the show, the movies that we're going to talk about, they were based on one book, and then there were books that came out after. All right, we're going to talk about the Titanic tonight, and then we're going to talk about Planet of the Apes.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Now, before that, I want to talk about the Golden Globes the other night, and I was very happy because Carol Burnett did not only win an award, we have a picture of her coming up, but she was the first recipient of the Carol Burnett Award. Yeah, you see her pulling her ear. That was, hi, Grandma. She used to let her grandmother know she was okay.
The millennials have no idea who she is.
Well, and that's why I'm so happy she won this award, because back when the show Glee was on, I had read that Carol Burnett was going to be on and she was going to play Lynch's mother, right? So I was at a barbecue. So I said, Carol Burnett is going to be on Glee. And all the young people were like, who's Carol Burnett?
That's a
Yeah.
disgrace.
Who's Carol? And I was like, oh my God. But I think it's worse for people, you guys do stand-up comedy. I think it's worse for people who want to be comedians who don't know who these people are.
She had that show. I used to love that
The
as a
greatest.
kid.
She had one of the.
The Carol Burnett show.
The Carol
Harvey
Burnett
Korman
show.
and Tim
Tim Conway,
Yes.
right?
They used Tim Conway always used to crack Harvey Korman up.
Right,
I
yeah.
love that.
Yes, and
But
they would
all-
film it.
Also
Oh,
now from
amazing show.
from a comedian standpoint, I'm sure sometimes he cracked them up, but sometimes as a performer, if you laugh or pretend you're laughing at a joke or someone else's joke on stage, you get everybody to laugh.
Yes.
So that was, and my friends and I, when we would do stand up, and sometimes we'd do a joke and laugh, we called it the Harvey Korman laugh.
Oh, really?
Because sometimes we
He
weren't.
always used to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes I would seriously laugh. Sometimes I did it to get the crowd involved. You know, if you got the crowd in the palm of your hand during a particular show and you do the fake
They
laugh.
like you more. Like some comics
Yeah.
are like, it's you should never laugh on stage or whatever. Like SNL, if they laugh, they get penalized or whatever.
Right.
When Horatio Sands used to laugh, Jimmy Fallon used to crack up, it was funnier. People like it more.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
rule is stupid. I don't agree with it at all. And I sometimes crack myself up on stage just because I crack myself up. Not,
Yeah.
it
So
happens.
Actually, I laugh out of nervousness.
Right,
Oh,
it
you do?
happens.
Well, you're still nervous.
Yeah.
You've been doing stand up for how long now?
Like a year and a half, but
Oh,
there was
wow.
like a break in between, so technically a year, but a year and a half. I'll say a year and a half.
Okay. And how much time do you have?
What do you
Material. Like,
Oh,
can
6
you do
minutes.
6 minutes?
6
And it
minutes.
took a really long time to get 6 minutes.
You have
with
a
a
co-
lot of professional help.
Wow. You can write everything. Just write everything. If it doesn't work, shelve it and go back to it.
Yeah.
Never, I mean,
I don't have-
always
like
said,
we were
never
talking
marry
before.
a joke. Yeah.
I don't really have a good organizational plan. So everything's on papers, and papers are all over the place. I
Everybody
don't really
does
go on the computer. I don't have a computer. So, I don't
Ask
have
him, whenever I perform, I'm so nervous, I always have a notebook. I'm always writing in my notebook. And that's why I enjoy, since I don't perform that often, I enjoy emceeing too, for the fact that if I forget a joke, I go back and I find a way to work it out in between the next comics. But you don't want to do a lot of time in between. That's
Yes.
something that a lot of people who like host, they don't always understand. You are the host of the party, so it's not really your party. It's the other comedian's
Right.
party.
Right.
But it is in the beginning, and that's
yeah,
a tough
in the
spot,
beginning,
yeah.
but then in between, I think like 2 minutes the most. 2 minutes bring the next comic up. I've seen people that say, okay, moving right along. Oh, by the way, this water bottle and they start getting, and those people moving right along. Well, if you're moving right along, move right along.
Right.
Don't move right along and go into another joke and do 5 minutes or.
And I disagree with doing time in between the feature and the headliner. I would
Oh,
bring
yeah?
the headliner right up, yeah.
Bring the headliner
like,
right up?
I mean, if it's like a few comics, if it's a 3-comic show, like MC, feature, headliner.
Yeah.
I used to prefer to just do all my time up front, maybe do a minute in between if needed. But that's it. I'd rather, if they're cracking up at the feature's closed, bring the headliner right up.
Yeah,
Why
all right.
lose the momentum? You know?
Okay.
I think the
But,
hardest part for the host, for me, if I was the host, is telling people when they're performing to get off the stage that their time is up, because a lot of
That's-
people will just keep going. And you have to be very forceful,
That's a
because
problem.
otherwise the show gets too long.
Right, you can't have too long of a show because. So when I was in the beginning of the show, I'd be like, "Why is this headliner asking how much time we're doing? He's going to do 45. What does he care, or she care?" Because they don't want to go up to an exhausted crowd, and they don't want to.
Exactly.
They don't want to lose them halfway through. So a show has a max, and that max shouldn't be exceeded.
And it's up to the comics to know. If you tell them 15 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't care if you did 13 minutes and your closing bit is 5 minutes. I don't care.
Yeah.
Then you find a way.
You have to wrap it up.
You wrap it up. I did a show one time, and I always close. I have a 2-minute bit, at least 2 minutes, a bit on Italians giving directions. That's the bit I close with. It's my strongest bit. One time I did a show with a lot of comics. I was told, keep it tight. When I got the light, it was like, I'm not going into my closing bit because I got the light. He wants me to get the heck off
Right, you don't have
really
time.
fast.
Well, that's why you should.
So I said,
You should
he
have
told
like,
me,
like a time of how much time you need, right?
yeah. Well, sometimes you're up there and you're working with the crowd. You're stretching material,
Right.
So he told me to do 8 minutes. So he gave me the light. So I knew he wanted me to get off right away. So I said to the audience, "Oh, he told me to do 8 minutes, and it takes me longer than that to zip up my pants." So that's how I closed.
That's a
how,
good closing.
That's how I closed, and I got off. And it wasn't anything actually written, but
So my opinion on that whole thing is this. So my strongest bit is my closing bit, right?
Right.
My closing bit is a 10-minute skit. Right?
Yeah.
10 minutes. So I can't just get the light and then wrap it up.
right.
So I have to tell the person, if I'm doing a 25-minute set, I said, light me at 15. So I know I have enough time, or even 13, so I have 2 minutes to finish what I'm doing, and then get into that closing bit. The best shows I do are ones where a clock is visible. So
Oh,
this
yeah,
way I don't
yeah,
have to
right.
worry about the light. Now I see the clock. I know what time I have to be in the closing bit by to leave myself 10 minutes, because my closing bit is my strongest bit. So if I have people that have never seen me before, I don't.
Yeah.
I can't just. I'm not just going to talk until I run out of time. I want it to be structured so they see the best. All my voices are in that last bit.
Yeah, right. No,
If
it's
they
a
don't
great
see
bit.
that,
That's
what
the
the hell are they
best part.
coming for?
Right, it's a great bit, and most of the
Thank
time,
you.
like you said, you close. So the show I did, the last show I did in October, you were the closer. So it was a
Yes.
three comic. It was a three comic and the host, and
Yes.
I like doing that. I don't like,
I'm
you know,
usually in the shows with a lot of comics.
Right.
those are
Yeah.
bad though. Those are bad. They make you're tired of comedy by then.
Well, it's good for the attention span because just when you're bored of somebody, they're done. And then
Right.
the next person comes on.
But those-
10, 12 comics. That's way too many.
So if you have like a show, like I've done shows where there's like sometimes
I'm in
there's
one of those
eight,
shows,
8
too.
or 9 or 10 comics, they have to do 6 minutes. So one time, like a newer person, he's like, "Oh, he's killing it." So no, you can't kill it. There's a lot of people behind you.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to do your
You have to be
6
respectful.
because our show
Yes,
is 90
exactly.
minutes. And if you go over, that means it's cutting into the headliner's time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And guess who they came to see? The
Right.
headliner.
Not
or
you.
The feature.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you can only do your 6 minutes. I understand you killed it. I understand you want to stay up there, but you're part of a team, and the team has to do 90 minutes, maybe 100, whatever
Are you-
110-minute show, whatever.
Right. I ran open mic shows, and depending on who, sometimes I'd get some really good people come down. You know, Tim Hamune, I don't know if you know Tim. He's West Coast now. Joe Starr used to come down and
Oh, I love Joe,
perform, and he loved the room, and it was a crappy coffee house room. So sometimes, if you had a guy like that and you had all these comics, I tell him, 6 minutes,
Yeah.
7, and get off. I don't care. Get off because Joe will do as much time as he wants to do,
Right.
and Joe is a comic that knows to. And any comic should know if you're being told, "Listen, I'm sorry, we have too many people. You have to do 5 minutes, and that's it." You do your 5 minutes. Don't
Right.
stay. Even if you're killing, even if you
Right. Even if you're killing, you have to
even
wrap
if you're
up.
killing, you got to wrap up and get on. So let's.
And I still do spots where they say, John, you can only do 10 minutes tonight. And
Yeah.
if I'm like, up in the show, and then Rob Falcone was the headliner of that show, it's disrespectful to Rob for me to go over. He's got to do a bit. He was filming that night.
Right.
So everybody had to stick to their time. So I had to do. How hard is it for me to do 10 minutes? I had to do like an abbreviated version and then go into my clothes.
And all right, stand-up comedians, you're all whores.
All attention whores.
You're all attention whores. You
I'm
all
not.
want. You all.
I let everybody go
Yeah,
first,
but you get
and I like
nervous,
to be
right.
at the end and I hope that everybody leaves. When I'm during an open mic, when I'm doing a show, I want to go first, like a band-aid, and get it off and
Right.
and be
All
done
right.
with it because
Okay.
I'm still nervous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
That-
nervous.
we all
every-
know.
Yeah.
We all understand that.
Yeah.
My
Now you're
open-
going to look at that 6 minutes that you do now. I used to be, how the hell am I going to fill 6 minutes? Now my close is
Do you
10.
record yourself?
No, I
You
should.
should.
gotta
I
start
know.
recording
You
yourself.
have
There's
to
a lot of
record.
things I should be
You
doing
have
that
to
I'm not
record.
doing.
And it doesn't have to be a video recording. It
Yeah.
could be an audio.
You're going to go from like, oh my God, how am I going to fill 6 minutes to, oh my God, I'm only doing 6 minutes?
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I the open mic that I run, there's a lot of people. It's tonight. I'm actually going to be going there later on, but we get like 25 to 30 comics
Right.
that
So
come
you
to the
have
open
to-
mic. But
yeah.
I'll stay for every single one,
Yes.
and I'll always go last.
This is
All
what
right, that's great.
I saw something at a show, and I'm glad that George Gallo was the headliner of that show because he ripped into her. There was a comic that went up. I'm not going to say who it was.
Yeah.
Tell us that.
You know what? To be honest with you, I never met her before.
wanna know after.
I don't remember who it was.
Okay.
Honestly, but George will know. So she comes in with an entourage of friends. She comes in. She does like I don't know a couple minutes, whatever. She's a
Yeah.
movie comic. She leaves before the great Mike Keegan, the great John Santo,
Right.
and the great George Gallo.
Yeah.
Right. No,
Three great comics.
three great well, two and plus me. But George, I wasn't going. I couldn't breathe. I had to take my inhaler. I have asthma. I had to take 2 puffs. I said, George, 2-puff show. You were fantastic. He makes fun of her because it's like you're a new. You got to stay and learn.
Yeah.
You have George Gallo, Mike Keegan.
But
You
Was
gotta
she
watch
left?
them.
She left?
She left when around. Oh, my time is done. She left. Like she was like
Oh my
Lady
that's
Gaga.
So,
And
that's
took
so
her people
disrespectful.
with
What
her.
are you doing?
That's so
And leave you
disrespectful.
And they took 4 audience members.
take
with
your,
her.
your
That's-
audience.
that's
yeah,
wrong.
that. But you learn after a while. But then I've seen people kill. I did a show in Broadway Comedy Club where this one woman, I won't mention her name, who was super funny. As a matter of fact, she was so funny. And I brought people. I did the show in the city, but I have relatives and good friends who work in the city and live near. So they came. So I had like 15, 20 people. So I was going up later, and I was nervous. I had a couple of those little airport bottles there, and I was drinking in the back, in the dressing room. I was nervous. This girl comes up, and she is friggin' hilarious. She's great.
Wow.
She's great. I was nervous. I'm like, and then I was like, thank God they put a buffer, because
Right.
whoever went up after her was not going to do that great.
Yeah.
They were going to and then I went up, and it was fine. It worked out. But that's a little. And then when I was getting at it, she walked out into the other room there, into the lounge, and her people went with her
Right.
instead of hanging out.
Right, and watching the
Yeah.
show and learning from the other people.
But then I've done.
I love watching the comics. That's
did-
like
I'm
why
a fan
I do
of comedy.
It.
If
Me
I'm in
too.
a big show, like
That's
I
the
was
be-
in,
that's why I'm doing it. To watch
if I'm
the
in
other
like
comics.
if I'm in like a big show or whatever, and I'm early, I
love it.
I finish. If I'm in a theater or something,
Yeah.
or a table at a firehouse, I sit down and watch the rest of the show.
Yeah,
love it.
right.
I love it.
Yeah, me too. If you're
I
there,
don't understand
you're
why someone
there,
would
you-
leave. That sounds ridiculous.
I know. But
I don't understand it either.
sometimes some people are stuck up. Sometimes sometimes they're nervous. But
First of all, if you're not, we have headliners like Jim DeLuca. Who walks out on Jim DeLucas?
Wow.
Tom Daddario, Paul Bob, like the big headliners.
Yeah.
LaRocchia. Who walks out on these people? You should be watching them if you
even
do.
Stevie GB.
Stevie, just I could go on and on.
Yeah, we could
Sherry
go on.
Davy, Clark Henry, all these things.
And
I'm like,
something-
these are big acts.
And also the big acts. The reason they're headliners for you newbies out there is because
I'm one of the
they
newbies.
they constantly refresh their material.
Yeah.
Right.
And write new
Yes,
material.
Yes.
Because
Teddy
that's
Smith.
the one thing. If I see, I love Teddy Smith. The one thing though, and Greg the Greek, Gregorius Kritikos, I love him.
He's funny.
He's funny as hell. But if I see somebody I haven't seen in a long time and they're doing the same 10 minutes or so,
Right.
I'm like, walk out. It depends. If it's a ventriloquist, it's different. But
That could always
but
be custom.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, there was also entertainment on this ship. That back in the 1920s, it was the Titanic.
Yeah.
So they had whatever comic they had on that ship. He died.
He bombed.
He didn't
bombed.
kill. He
Or
bombed.
she bombed.
Yeah.
Probably
Or sank.
because of the time. Yeah.
So-
it was a sinking feeling. Terrible.
So here is the real HMS. Is it HMS?
yeah, Her Majesty's or His Majesty's ship. Yes.
ship, and
Titanic.
it was from England. Beautiful ship. They thought it was unsinkable, but at that time, it was all about speed. So it didn't
Yes.
matter how big the ship was. It was the fact of how fast could they go from England and London to New York. Is that where they were going?
Yeah.
London to New York. So that's what really mattered. And there were two tragedies that day that a lot of people don't really know. The Titanic, where 1,500 people died, and the opening of Fenway Park, which is, for a Yankee fan, it's a very sad day.
Same day, huh?
Yeah, same day. But they wound up, and they said it was very lackluster. A lot of people didn't go because they were so bummed out about the Titanic.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think the Titanic, I believe, sank a couple of days before, but it took a while before the news back then. It took a
Sure.
while
Oh yeah, you didn't have.
before the
Instant
papers
news.
and everything, yeah.
Did you hear
So-
that thing about? You know the mission where they went to find it in the '80s?
Yes.
And they were looking for the Titanic.
Right.
Do you know that that was a cut? They found it by accident. They weren't looking for the
Oh,
Titanic.
they weren't looking for the Titanic?
They were looking for
Kinda like
a Russian
Viagra.
submarine. Right. It's like
yeah,
Viagra.
like Viagra. Viagra was a heart medicine.
Right.
Exactly.
And then they found
And
out, hey,
the guy's like, how's your heart doing? I don't know, but I got this erection that just won't go away. Really? And they're right. I bet that if it was women doctors, scientists, they would have been like, don't tell nobody. Don't tell.
They would have hidden it.
Yeah.
well, that's why in my act I do a little bit about that at the end.
Why,
with
yeah.
With the women, why it benefits women too. But
Yeah.
So they were looking for a Russian submarine or
Oh, they
an
were.
American submarine, I forget, that sank that had nukes on board.
Oh, wow.
So that happened in the 80s. So they made up this story. They were looking for the Titanic. They happened to find the Titanic.
And then they were trying to raise it. They were going to put golf balls, ping pong balls in it, and they
Right.
had these stupid ideas. But when they found the Titanic, that's when there were several movies made about the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
There was A Night to Remember and The Unsinkable Molly Brown, which was a musical because Molly Brown, who struck it rich,
Yep.
she was a hillbilly girl who struck it rich, and she was on the Titanic. And she's played in the James Cameron movie. She's played by
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates plays her.
I've
So
seen that movie like millions
millions of times. We're going to show the trailer in a couple of minutes.
Now Gus
But-
Grissom, who flew in Mercury, his capsule sank when he
Yeah.
came back. When he went up again on Gemini, that capsule's name, Molly Brown.
Oh, it was Molly
Because he
Brown?
didn't want to risk sinking another capsule.
Yeah. Oh,
So he
okay.
named it Molly Brown, yeah.
Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Gemini 3's
So-
capsule was Molly Brown.
A Night to Remember is also a great film about the Titanic, but what historians don't like about it is they just had the ship sink. They didn't know back then that it split in half, or I think some people said it, and it was in the 80s when they discovered it, that they eventually went down with those things.
Yeah, they know now.
And
what
they
happened.
know that it split. And then I saw a movie after Titanic. James Cameron made a 3D movie that you could see at the Cradle of Aviation Museum, and I saw it with my son, and it was they went inside one of those mini subs and went down there.
Now, I saw
I
Neil
love that.
deGrasse Tyson give a speech in 2015 at a business conference. And he was talking about all the mistakes in movies. He said, he goes, I was in the theater with my wife, and she looks up at the sky, and I'm like, those aren't the right stars for the North Atlantic that time of year. So he writes James Cameron a letter. He finally goes back and forth. He meets up with him at an event he goes, I met him at the Hidden Planetarium, where I happen to be the director. And he said, and then when they came out with the 10-year box set,
Right.
they used the right sky.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes, I got a call from a guy saying, James Cameron said you have a sky for me for the DVD. And they changed it.
Wow, that's cool.
Oh. And also, there's something else that people don't know is when the ship went up in the air and all those people were hanging
Right.
on,
Yeah.
someone yelled, on the count of 3, everyone pull!
They did
I
not. That's a joke, right?
No, this really happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Now-
Kathy Bates told me.
Did you ever see the alternate ending to Titanic?
No, I never did.
You never saw the
No.
alternate ending?
No.
On YouTube, there's an
Yes.
alternate ending.
Right.
So you know how she
I
drops...
never know if comics are being serious
Very
or if they're
serious.
joking.
Very serious.
I'm going to tell you seriously, and I'm
Okay.
going to tell you a funny part about it. So you know how she drops the Heart of the Rose
Right.
on her own?
Yeah.
Nobody sees her do it. She
Right.
goes,
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah.
Right.
Drops in the water.
In the alternate ending, they see her on the back, and they're like, "Oh my God!" So the granddaughter, Bill Paxton, they all see her,
Right.
and she turns around, and they're like, "You had it the whole time," because she was going to put it back there. He's like, "Let me just touch it," because it belongs back with Titanic, right? And now.
She throws it in the water and then they choke her.
No. Now, what really would have happened was, I mean, I don't want to be, too much of a downer. They would have killed her, the granddaughter. That's $50 million.
That's if there were Sicilians on the boat.
They would have.
They would have never found it. They would have come back. What happened to the lady in
Oh,
the
they
trailer?
would have thrown them overboard,
Yeah.
taken the damn rock,
We
and
don't know
nobody
nothing.
knows nothing. They jumped.
They
Nobody,
jump, we don't, damnedest thing.
That's the Sicilian version of Titanic.
Well, that's what I was going to do, like
Yeah.
The Sopranos.
Yeah,
It's
damnedest thing, Paul.
Hand over the freaking stone, or I'm going to like you, your fucking granddaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really would have happened.
That's so good. He
That's
does such
true.
a great.
I love his
all your
impression.
voices are great.
All his
You're
voices.
very nice.
Yeah.
But
Move over.
on-
Move a little.
I'm off again. I'm too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this makes me look fat.
Let's show them the Titanic.
Yeah, let's show them the Titanic.
Titanic video.
yes.
Here we go. This way I can see her.
Seeing her coming out of the darkness like a ghost ship still gets me every time.
Take a look at this drawing that we found just today. A piece of paper that's been underwater for 85 years.
I'll be damned.
All right, you have my attention. Can you tell us who the woman in the picture is?
Oh, yes. The woman in the picture is me.
What made you think you could put your hands on my fiancée?
They've got you trapped, Rose, and if you don't break free, you're gonna die.
This ship, there's only so many places she can be. Find her. Iceberg, run ahead! I have been wrong.
Is this it?
Don't you believe it, Rose?
Don't you understand? The water is freezing and there aren't enough boats. Half the people on the ship are going to die.
Not the better half.
What are we doing, Mommy? When I finish putting first-class people on the boats, they'll be starting with us.
All away!
Why are the boats being launched half full?
For God's sake, there's women and children down here! Let us out so we can have a chance!
Where are you going? What to him?
You jump, I jump, right?
I hope you enjoy your time together!
You have to stay on the ship as long as possible.
This is where we first met. God almighty. Oh, God!
This is it!
Oh, God! Oh, God!
What a movie.
I
Even
love
the
it.
trailer
Love
makes
it.
you want to watch it again.
Yes.
So there were a few things while we were watching the trailer that you two wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so at the end, I want to see what you guys think.
Okay.
When she's in bed and he said you're going to die warm in bed, you're not going to die out here in
An
the
old
water.
lady warming her bed.
Old lady warming her bed. Is that
Not
right?
this night.
Yes.
See, I can recite lines.
So at the end, she walks down, she meets him on the staircase, and I think that everybody that was
Killed.
around them was dead, like the captain, you see them all clapping. I think that was her going to heaven and meeting him at the clock, right?
That's what I thought, that it was. Those were all the souls that were still on
souls, right.
The souls of those who died were still on the Titanic.
And she had to get back
In it.
there right before she died, so she was right above the ship when she died.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and she died, and went because there is a strange thing about death with some people. Sometimes they say that people wait to die, and then they die like sometimes they wait for someone to get married. You know, they're getting
Right.
old, and then after the wedding, a couple of days later, great grandma passed away.
Right.
Or,
Like,
you know,
hold on.
right? Yeah, that they hold on. And so possibly, and what's great about this movie, you can have those suppositions that suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, until John said that, I didn't think that. I just
You didn't
thought-
think she died, right?
No, I just thought she was dreaming.
no, I thought, yeah, okay. No, but you could say that too, but I thought she died.
Well, the
as
name of that soundtrack piece
Yeah.
that they pay, because I looked up the musical score, is called The Dream. So I don't know. I don't know what's right. That's why maybe our audience can tell us
Yeah, write
what they
in.
think.
Write
Right
in
in.
and tell us.
Tell us.
Yeah, right.
Did
Well,
Rose
anyway,
die,
take
or
a
is she
poll.
dreaming?
Yeah, we take a poll. You can put it right now because there's people. Eric, I can't pronounce Eric's last name. How do you, Eric's?
Oh, I can't pronounce it either, but I love him.
Do you know Eric from
At Knock 'em Dead Radio?
from Knock 'em Dead?
I don't know.
Right, and yeah,
Oh, yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
But they
Eric,
sh- they
Eric
showed-
Scavigiland.
He said he loves you, by the way.
I love Eric
Yeah.
too. I love Eric. Bernard Hammerth, my old buddy from grammar school, says I like the shirt. So those of you noticed I'm
Oh,
wearing a
Rizzuti,
Rizzuti
yeah.
shirt. He said I'm an extra large. Bernard, you got it. How about a hat? You want a hat? But yeah, I'll get you one. Greg DiFilippo.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Hi, Benny. What's up, Bonnie?"
Greg is a great
Don't you-
friend of mine, too. I
Yeah?
met him just recently, but we know each other from Knock 'em Dead Radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, and I know Greg. Yeah, I did the one show I did with Knock 'em Dead. Hey, how you doing, Greg? I did it with Greg. With Greg
he
and
came
with
from
Eli.
Florida yes, and Eli is. I met Eli from my open mic.
Yeah.
I brought a lot of the guests on the Knock 'em Dead Radio were from my open mic,
From your
and
open
I
mic.
brought them in.
Great.
A whole bunch, and I'm like, I have many more for you, Greg. If not Greg, Eric. If
Yeah.
you want, I have an endless supply.
That's a rough show because that's a
2
a
hours
daily
every day.
every day, 5 days a week.
Yes.
To get people. So
That's rough.
so whenever I complained about
Or they're working, or they can't come.
I complained
Right,
about
sure.
doing shows with guests, and you have to worry about the guests can't make it. And I complained. That was once a week. So
Right.
they
do
and
it
Tony
every day.
Tony Walker.
Tony Walker and Sal.
Tony Walker, I
Neil.
know. Yeah, I know Tony, yeah.
they're all my-
Tony's
all
a
my
great guy.
friends.
And by the way, the introduction to Benny TV, which you are watching, by the way, if that didn't give it away. The intro to Benny TV, MC Savant happens to be Tony's cousin. And that's MC Savant is Don Sill, my old buddy who gave me my first break in radio. And he used to have a radio show on WUSB. I went on as a guest, and then we hit it off right away, and we kept talking, and then I would come back, and then one day he just called me and said, "How would you like to just be a regular on the show?" And I was like, "Great."
Nice.
That's
So
nice.
yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, it was nice. It was 5 o'clock in the morning every other Monday. 5 o'clock in the morning in
That's
Stony
that's
Brook.
early.
2 hours, sometimes
5 a.m.?
5 a.m. So I was getting
Was
up
it
at
live?
3:30.
Before
People were
5.
listening at that time, or it was.
Yeah, a few
The
people.
morning people on the way to work, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a few people. We were getting some people listening, and you could get it at that time. You could get it on the internet, so so you could pick it up streaming.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything. There wasn't Facebook
I stream in my
Live.
car all the time. I could stream my car. We're on, I think, radio.com or.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to
easy.
do any of that.
You connect to the Bluetooth. Right?
Yeah.
And then if you play a YouTube video, it'll come through your car speakers. So
All
you
right.
could stream anything, iHeartRadio, whatever, radio.com, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. So you
forget
could,
what app we're on,
So
what
you
app
could
we're on.
stream.
Go to StrongIsland.com,
You could stream the show that we're talking about is on Gov's Radio.
Yeah, Governor's
They're on
Radio.
iHeartRadio,
And
I
they're also on
Are they?
YouTube,
They're on
too.
iHeart?
Yeah,
or they
you-
were? I thought they were.
And then YouTube also.
On YouTube.
And
right.
Facebook Live.
Yeah, you can stream all that in your car, the audio only.
All right, yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
It's easy. I'll show you.
He'll show you.
We'll
how
have
to
it.
do
We
it.
should have a thing on the show about how to do that.
Yeah, and then
I
another
can't
show.
even get this show onto my Facebook page.
Look, I can't even talk to my son who's in Peru right now.
Oh, but the thing about the Titanic that made me
All
think
right,
she
yeah.
died was that they showed the chronology, all those pictures, her with the airplane,
Her life,
after Titanic. So that's why I think she died.
I think she died too. I thought she did, and
What
I thought
has
she
anybody
was
else
just having a
said?
lovely dream.
Have our viewers said anything? Plus, she
Someone-
looked dead to me. I didn't see her breathing.
I'm
I
gonna
used
have
be
to
an
watch the
EMT.
ending scene now. Now that you said
Well,
that,
you
I'm
got to
gonna
go on
do it.
YouTube and watch the alternate ending. If you go YouTube alternate ending Titanic, it comes up.
that
definitely
Titanic,
do
the
that.
Titanic did so well. It was for a while. It was the #1 box office.
Well, because of the
draw.
song. The song was
the song, but
amazing.
Everything was
but
great about it.
But it was great, and I remember my friend had told me, it's an old-fashioned movie. A friend of mine, I didn't see it either. Like you said, you didn't want to see it at first. Thought, a chick flick. Or then a friend of mine who I used to watch movies with all the time, sometimes till the wee hours of the morning, and then we would top it off with some Betty Boop cartoons.
I should have brought my Titanic whistle. I bought a whistle.
Yeah, we
along
would.
with-
Yeah, I have a bunch of Betty. I'm a big cartoon fan.
Oh, he loves the cartoons.
I love cartoons. I love the old Warner Brothers and Betty Boop. So, but he and we would watch these movies. So he had called me and he said, see Titanic. It's like an old-fashioned film. It's like an old-fashioned, but done, modern, done for the late 20th century. And they did a great job. Cameron did a great job with it.
He was obsessed with the details, Cameron. He even had, even though you didn't see it in the
everything's
movie,
amazing.
the silverware had the White Star logo on it, even though you wouldn't see it in the picture.
Wow.
He was obsessed with the details.
He did a great job with it. And
And the love story. Is
It was-
it was like history for the men, and then the love story for the women.
Right.
Right, he had this
Had
great
something for
idea.
everybody.
He had a great idea of having the love story in there.
Yeah.
And it
But
worked
that
out with the
movie with the
classes,
different-
with the different
Yeah.
With a different soundtrack sucks.
But now, when that movie it did so well that I remember there was talk that they were going to have a 6-hour version. They were going to have like
They can't have a
longer boat.
Titanic too, right? Because everybody's dead.
They tried. They did a Titanic 2 about the sister ship of the Titanic.
What was the sister ship's name? Do you remember?
Britannica? Was it the
Oh,
Britannica?
the Encyclopedia.
Yeah, the encyclopedia. It was an encyclopedia. It was made
That
out of
was the ship
encyclopedia.
that came and rescued them.
Carpathia.
Oh,
rescued
Carpathia.
them.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
Carpathia.
I'm not sure. I say Britannica. I'm not
You're
really.
making it
No,
up.
I think
I think it might be. Yeah, I think
I
it
actually
might-
think you're right. I
But there
didn't,
was a sister ship. There was a ship identical to the Titanic.
Most cruise
But,
ships, I mean, they have a whole class, and it's several ships in that.
Well, they thought
class.
this ship
Identical.
was unsinkable. They thought it was the fastest. That was if they weren't worried about speed, they would have. They wouldn't have hit the.
He wouldn't hit the
iceberg.
berg.
They wouldn't have hit the
Well,
berg.
he should have said to the guy, "Look, I'm retiring. You're an asshole. I'm the captain of the ship. You're a VP of the. Sell the tickets. I'll worry about the ship. Operating the ship."
They were out to prove something. Not only the biggest ship, but just like with it, you love aircraft and I love aircraft. Then they had the Concorde, which
Well, the
was
British.
a big.
That was British too. They were obsessed with speed.
They were obsessed with speed, so the Concorde could get you to Europe in half the time.
Right.
So, and that's what they were. And there was a 747 jumbo jet. And then Europe tried it again with the Airbus. They were a big jumbo. They were coming out.
A380, yeah.
They were coming out with a plane so big that you would have to have a special runway for it.
The wingspan
And-
was 50 feet wider than the 747.
And Boeing said, been there, done that. 747, been there, done that. We're not doing that. Boeing makes
It
smaller
was a
planes now.
full double decker, front to back, 2 decks.
Yeah.
And I did a program on that when I worked in the aviation industry. I was working on a test for that, market research test, to see if people would go for like some of the amenities they were talking about, putting a bowling alley.
In
all
the
this
plane?
crap. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
accountants.
yeah. Oh my God.
The accountants would never allow the wasted space,
They
for like
can't
a
even
spa,
have
a
a-
casino.
Yeah.
They can't even seem to have enough space for people to sit comfortably next to each other.
Well, there was going to be like an ultra first class that had in the front that had access to the lower part of the front of the baggage area, which was going to be like a casino, whatever.
Right.
But nobody could make money doing that.
Yeah.
You're better off carrying cargo or something.
So Bernard said Felix the Cat. Yeah, Bernard, Felix the Cat's cool, but Betty Boop, let me tell you, Betty Boop, she wore a dress. If Bonnie stood up, she wore a dress like the one you're wearing.
Yeah.
But she always had a garter.
I'm in sweatpants. She gets up dressed up.
She's dressed up,
You're in
yeah.
a t-shirt.
I always get.
Hey,
dressed
I'm
up.
in a Rizzuti
Or a
shirt.
Zooty shirt. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
it says
This
by the
is
way,
for the show.
American made from the finest Italian parts. How about a lot of calzones over here? Manicati. I hate what's
Manicati.
Manicati. Can I have some biscotti?
Cringe.
It's biscotta, you friggin' Mamaluke. So anyway, speaking of Mamalukes, so now, did we say everything we want to say
I
about
want to
that?
just talk one last thing about the class
Yes.
system.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that show brought out how different time it was with, they had the society class and then the lower class was down below.
Right.
And when it came to death, it was like, the
Yes.
the higher class was going to survive.
Right.
And who cares about the lower class? And they even locked the gates. That was what was
Right, to make sure
really-
everybody else
that,
got
like,
off first.
Don't even give them a fighting chance. They were like
Right.
locking them in almost like for a certain death.
Right.
That I thought was really horrific.
Now I was on. I got upgraded one time to first class on a flight. I was with coworkers, and it was one of the coworkers was just like nobody liked him. He's a jerk. He was sitting in the back. So I waited in first class for him to deplane, and I said, "And how are the accommodations and steerage?" I had to.
Everybody from Titanic would know that. Did he
And
get the reference?
He was just a jerk. He just was like, it was all right, He was so
probably
preoccupied
didn't
with
even
himself,
understand
as
that.
always. Nobody liked him. He was a real, can I say dick?
Yeah.
He was a dick. And nobody liked him. So I wanted to, and I was sitting there with my
was
legs
a
crossed,
pee-pee.
still drinking my drink.
Oh.
How were the accommodations and steerage?
But that's all I got.
That's good, right? That's a good.
Yeah.
But that was a good movie. Did
It's an excellent movie.
anybody say if Rose died or was dreaming?
No, I don't. They hung up on me.
I'm gonna call Gallup. We're gonna commission a Gallup poll on this and see if they can.
A Gallivan. No, and Sauce. Yeah, sauce, not gravy, Bernard. You got it.
Sauce. Gravy goes on turkey.
Yeah, turkey and.
Yes.
I was dating an Italian girl. I'm Sicilian. Dating an Italian girl, and she made gravy. So I went with my family one day, and I said to my cousin, "You're making gravy? Sauce, Benny." And she looked like she was gonna stab me. Sauce, Benny. Sauce. I was like, all
Tomato
right.
sauce.
Yeah.
Can I get some tomato sauce and some pasta? Sauce.
All right, we're moving right along here. So, Titanic, it was a great movie.
He
I
asked
want
me
to
what
see
my
it
favorite
again.
movies were.
Yes.
So I told him Titanic and Planet of the
And
Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Which
So
one?
now,
The very, very first one with
The
Charlton
original.
Heston, and then also when they started remaking it, the one with Alzheimer's. I always say that word wrong. Alzheimer's.
yes, and
What
that's,
Alzheimer's?
that's Rise,
My
right?
mother passed away from Alzheimer's.
Oh,
but-
yeah?
No, but
Yeah.
which movie was the?
With James Franco.
James Franco. Where
We have the trailer
they
for that.
discover the cure for Alzheimer's by experimenting on the apes.
Yeah, you
It's-
never saw that
you
with
never saw
James
that?
Franco?
Oh my God, it's the best.
We
You
have a
gotta watch
trailer.
it.
I think.
Let me see
You
the
haven't
trailer.
Yeah,
seen
see
it,
the trailer
you
here.
have to see it. It's just as
See
good
this.
as the original.
And it's the beginning of.
We're talking about huge potential for millions of people.
Our therapy enables the brain to repair itself. We call it the cure.
I want you to start testing on chimps ASAP.
We test one subject. I want to make sure it's stable. I designed the 112 for repair, but Caesar's gone way beyond that.
You mean increased intelligence?
With skills that far exceed that of a human counterpart.
This is wrong, Will.
It works.
And what about Caesar? Where does he fit in?
That ship's company property.
He hasn't spent any time with other chimps.
They're not people, you know.
Are you trying to control things that are not meant to be controlled?
They are contaminated. Put those apes down.
You have no idea what you're dealing with.
I'm home. All the time. We finally really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up!
You maniacs! You blew it up! You're on Betty TV! Betty TV with my guest co-host Bonnie Scalisi and John Santo here at the lovely downtown Massapequa on Strong Island Television and Paradise Studios, live from Paradise Studios.
I did that in Las Vegas when I walked by New York.
Yeah.
And I saw the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
I freaked.
I do goofy things like that, and my wife and son don't always appreciate it. They tell me I have a very weird sense
Did
of
they
humor.
say that you embarrass them? My daughter says that all the time. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing me. Stop it.
Yeah. But then it's okay if they do it. They have a better sense of humor than me. Okay, I got it. I know how this goes. One-way street.
That was an awesome. When you guys were talking about the reboot,
The reboot.
Yeah.
I thought you were
He
with
never
Mark
saw it.
Wahlberg.
No, that was a remake.
Remake.
See, there's a difference between a remake and a reboot.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Different ball game, but they
They
incorporate. Go ahead.
incorporated some of the things, but the technology of the way they made the ape is, you know, the originals that you could tell
They
were
were just
a mask.
walking around. They were people.
Now
Right.
they made the ape look like, I don't know how
Well,
they did it, but he looks like
Okay,
you know,
it's
a real ape.
It's
You
where
know?
they wear they wear those different cables on them now. They do the motion capture.
Yes.
Right, right.
So
It's
they-
motion capture, and the person who plays Caesar is the greatest motion capture artist of all time, Andy Serkis,
amazing.
that you may know as Gollum in. He's Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
And he was King Kong in Peter Jackson's King Kong remake. Remake. That was a remake. King Kong was a remake.
So the Mark Wahlberg movie, when you talk about the old stuff, they were looking for a cure for something in space, with using the apes.
They were in this
No, they were
movie-
explorers in Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I didn't see
Right,
that
but
one. I didn't
they
see
weren't
that one.
medical things.
I
Yeah,
think they
no, you're
were
right. They
learning-
were right. They were on that space station.
Yeah,
right.
they were explorers, and what it was they took the Planet of the Apes to a different planet. They made it a little bit different.
Right.
This one here is a reboot because there is a Caesar. There's a lot of references to
Yeah,
the
Caesar was the first ape in the those I call it the
five, yeah.
Thursday or Friday episode, because they used to show Planet of the Apes Monday and Tuesday, Beneath on Wednesday,
Yeah,
Conquest on Thursday, and Return on Friday.
Yeah, all of the remakes, I guess you would call it remakes, they were not as good as the
Or
original.
sequels. They were sequels, yeah.
Right.
But this, the one that we're talking about now,
It's
like,
a trilogy.
amazing.
It's a
You
trilogy.
gotta watch it.
But
So you
he
gotta
was
watch-
good though with James
James
Francis.
Franco.
I love that. My son is
was okay.
My son has a bachelor's degree in film and television. So he does not like. He watched it with me, and he doesn't like it.
Why?
Because of the cheapness. Because at the end, and
Yeah, it
I
was
told
a
him,
little cheap.
I told him, but I loved it. I love. I love Beneath Planet of the Apes as much as I love the first one.
Oh, I didn't.
And then after that, when they come back, then the apes come to the 70s.
Yes,
and-
that was a good one.
Yeah, but you know what I didn't like? I didn't
What?
like that if you have an internal logic in your
Escape
story,
from Planet of the Apes, I
escape
forgot
from
what
the.
it was.
If you have an internal logic in your story, like it was a nuclear war that caused all this, then all of a sudden in the third movie they tell you, no, people started to use apes as slaves
Ricardo Montalban.
because
Oh, yeah, I remember
because
that
all
one,
the
yeah.
animals died,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you throw something like that, and
Yeah,
all
they,
the
changed,
animals.
they changed
They're
it.
throwing
They changed it, but
everything.
then they tried to bring it back and had the nuclear war towards the end, but it was different. Because now time was altered because the apes came through
Right.
time, so they altered time.
I
They
liked-
tried doing that with the Mark Wahlberg one, which Mark Wahlberg one is terrible, and I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, they disappointed.
But this is a trilogy. So it's Rise of the
Oh my
Planet
God,
of the
it's
Apes.
the best.
Yeah.
I haven't seen these.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes first, the one that we saw the trailer.
Right.
Then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
And James Franco's not in that one. It's a different actor.
Yeah, that
Okay.
again.
But
I
no
don't
time
like,
travel,
I don't like
no,
those as much as this
As
one.
the first one?
No time travel, no Taylor.
No.
There's hints to it.
All right, don't
There's
tell me.
hints. I won't tell you.
I'll watch
but
it.
And then there's War of the Planet of the Apes, where
Yeah, I didn't see.
you didn't see that
I
one?
didn't see the whole
Wood-
thing.
Woody Harrelson plays a Colonel Kurtz.
I saw part of that one.
Woody Harrelson plays like a Colonel Kurtz character
Right.
because he got the bald head and
Yeah, it's
he's
not as good as this
Why
one.
can't
I
they
think they're
remake
all
the-
good.
the
I think they're all good.
Taylor, that would be cool,
No, they have an opening they could come. Well, why do a remake when you take the idea and change it? Because the book was a French book by Pierre Boulez, and it was Planet of the Apes. But
He knows the books.
yeah. It was a French book. I forget. It was like El Ape Stinko or something. It was called Planet of the Stinky Apes.
But the reason I really
Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of dingleberries. Right? Monty Python and the Holy
I
Grail.
was going to do a Sopranos Planet of the Apes where it's Paulie, Tony, and Silvio. And they go in there and it's like, this Dr. Zayas, he's a fucking asshole. He doesn't believe in airplanes. Throw the freaking paper airplane.
But the reason I liked this one was I actually brought my mother in to see this movie. She was already suffering from Alzheimer's. I didn't know what the movie was about. I thought
this movie.
I thought it was going to be like the other ones. And it turns out it's about how we were talking about how you by mistake discover something.
Yes.
He was experimenting, and by mistake he discovered that he had the cure for Alzheimer's, and his dad had Alzheimer's.
Right.
Yeah,
So
John Lithgow plays
John
his
Lithgow.
dad.
So he started giving his dad, even though it wasn't allowed, it wasn't approved yet, he started giving his dad this because his dad was getting so bad.
Right.
He was forgetting everything.
Did it help the father?
And it did, and it made him normal again. But I'm not going to give away the whole movie.
Right.
But that's why I was like mesmerized by it, because there's my mom sitting right next to me suffering from Alzheimer's.
Right.
And this movie is about like,
But
wow,
look what happened
imagine
with
if
the
it-
apes. They got out. Holy shit.
It turned out that the
you
cure.
gotta see it.
I don't want to.
Yeah, don't give it away. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what I hate about critics. I hate about movie critics.
It's a surprise ending.
Because if I really want to see a movie, I'll start reading the critic in the newspaper. You know, because I love to read the reviews, and all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, they're giving away too much.
Can I
don't
say
wanna
one
know.
thing about when you think this
No.
movie is over?
It's not over?
It's not over. A lot of people got up and left the theater when the credits started coming on, but you have to sit down because something happens like
Post-credit
a
scene.
minute, not even a minute, maybe 50 seconds into, most of the plates had left. And then something else happens, and it changes.
Oh, wow.
It's completely different the way it ends the movie.
Well, what they do nowadays, they've been doing for the past 10, 20 years, is post-credit scene.
I
Yeah.
guess
You have
that's
to
what
sit.
it's called. Yeah.
They want
you
you
have
to
to
stay for the
sit.
credits.
Yes.
You sit for the credits, and then
The only
almost
reason I
every
stayed was my
Marvel-
mother. I couldn't get her up out of the seat because she had Alzheimer's and she
See-
needed so much help. That's the only reason I didn't leave.
The movie is not over.
It's not over.
Until you see any movie.
Yeah,
Until that Motion Picture Association of America symbol comes up.
Okay.
And millennials don't even notice because they're so freaking impatient and have no focus that they leave. They don't even know what that is. They leave.
Anyway,
we stay for the
we're
credits.
we're running out of time. I want to thank you all again for joining me
Oh, it
on
was a
Benny TV.
pleasure.
I hope you come back. He's definitely going to be back.
I love this show. This show is so terrific.
Yay.
And,
It's the best show. Benny's terrific.
I want to say a couple
I'm
of
on at
things.
9, by the way. 9 o'clock.
I said that Titanic was the blockbuster. It was a big.
Blockbuster.
It made
How
the
much did
most
it make?
money
I
of
was
the
gonna ask
box
you.
office. Billions. It made
Billions, right?
billions. It was topped by. It was topped by Avatar, James Cameron's other movie.
really?
It was topped by Avatar, but I read the all-time box office champ is still inflated. If it's adjusted for inflation,
What?
is Gone with the Wind.
Just
with
for
the wind.
inflation.
I have to
Right.
say,
Yeah,
I've
just
never
it.
seen it all the way
No?
through.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen
But
it at all.
Let me tell you why that is. Even
It's worth seeing.
I love seeing it, but
I don't know how you would see it now.
it's
though.
kind of racist now. When you
Oh,
look
everything
at
is
it now.
racist now.
please.
All right, but anyway,
Let's not get into
Everything.
Going with the,
Oh,
all right,
God, everything is
listen, Going with the Wind, right? Going with the Wind. Back then, they didn't have VCRs. You didn't have DVD players.
Sure.
So movies would make revivals, and that's how and they wouldn't play them on TV. They wouldn't play the Ten Commandments on TV. They wouldn't play
Why?
Ben-Hur, because they could put it into a movie theater and people would go and flock.
Oh,
in the
they
70s.
go back in, yes.
So, and Ben-Hur, Gone with the Wind, those movies are meant for a big screen anyway.
Yes.
So they used to, back then, you could do that. Anyway, thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
This is Benny TV. Say goodbye, Bonnie.
Don't forget to answer, is Rose dead or dreaming?
Yes, let me know. And stay tuned for the next show, Laughter Saves Lives, live. Because they're both going to be on it.
We're both on it.
They're both
We
on
stay
it.
right here.
Woo.
We don't move.
All right, take care, everybody. Good night. Thank you for watching Benny TV at Strong Island Television.
Thank you for having me.
Woo-hoo. Oh, thank you both.